A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you another book review today. Well, a graphic novel review, I should say, so cheers to that. Now, I am a huge Batman fan, always have been, and Batman Year One by Frank Miller, one of my all-time favorite graphic novels, and story arcs, I guess you could possibly say. So, I was really quite pleased to see that they had released a boxed set of other Year One comics. There is Batgirl Year One, Nightwing Year One, but today I'm going to bring you Robin Year One. Now, this was written by Chuck Dixon and Scott Beatty. Chuck Dixon, of course, being famous for kind of fleshing out the Nightwing character and giving him his own series. The character of Robin, Dick Grayson, the first Robin, I might add. There's been Dick Grayson being the first, then there was Jason Todd, then there was Tim Drake, and finally Damian Wayne. And if you want to go into the Frank Miller Dark Knight series, I believe it was Cassie Kennedy was her name. But Dick Grayson was the first Robin, made his first appearance in Detective Comics, I believe, 38, maybe. I know he first appeared in comics in the 1940s, maybe even 1940. So this is basically a retelling of Robin's first year being Robin. It is a fantastic read. You can see on the back we have a number of the villains that appear in this kind of story arc. We have Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Jarvis Tetch, known as the Mad Hatter, Killer Moth, I believe that is. And that is Shrike. I believe this is the third rendition of that character that has appeared in the comic books. Now, this is an absolutely fantastic graphic novel. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The stories were great. The story arc of Robin over the first year of being Batman's sidekick is really compelling, really fascinating. The one problem I did have with this graphic novel, however, is the choice of fonts. Sometimes the font choices weren't the best and were a little difficult to read, which we'll see when I get into the graphic novel itself. But apart from that, if you're a fan of Batman, if you're a fan of Robin, this is well worth the read, well worth the time to kind of go and check out. An absolute ton of fun. Very well written. The characters were plotted perfectly, especially Alfred in this. I thought Alfred was done really, really well. So with that said, if you don't want any of this comic spoiled, you might want to shut off here and go and check out another video. But if you want to know what the story is all about, then stick around for the next episode of...
Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. People.
Okay, so let's get straight into Robin Year One. So it starts with this guy in jail. He's trying to sell information. He's pissed off because Robin is the one that put him in jail. I believe he's a gangster called Manetti or something along those lines. And he's basically saying, listen, your boss needs to help me out here. I've got some information. And this lawyer guy is like, I'll see what I can do. And he goes back to his boss, who happens to be Two-Face. And Two-Face is like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Then we get to this warehouse. These guys are going to break in. But of course, Batman and Robin show up and stop them. Robin using all of his kind of agility and things like that to get around it. And Batman is kind of impressed that he took down so many guys. Let me just see if that's better. There we go. We get rid of the glare. Now, here is the font that I was talking about. This is kind of Alfred's journal, and it's a little difficult to read in some parts, but basically Bruce is kind of impressed with Robin and how well he's doing. Alfred's a bit worried at this point that Bruce is leading Dick Grayson down a path that's very similar to his own. Dick kind of trains in the Batcave, and he convinces Bruce. Bruce wants him to go to like a boarding school or something, but he convinces Bruce to let him go to a regular high school, which he does. Now we have the main plot of the beginning of this is Jarvis Tetch, otherwise known as the Mad Hatter, who a lot of people believed was kind of like this B-list Batman villain. But if you read the New 52, they made him really sinister. And in this, he is all kinds of fucked up. So he's been kidnapping these girls through this kind of hypnosis. That's his thing, is kind of like mind hypnosis and shit. And he's making them all look the same, like these blondes, almost like Alice in Wonderland, because that's his thing. But he's doing it for a reason. This general has kind of asked him to collect an X amount of these girls, make them all look the same, and that's kind of what he's doing. And so the general's henchman is coming to check out the merchandise. Here is Dick Grayson in school, and he's kind of making friends and whatnot. And there's one girl, I believe her name is Jenny, who kind of has her eye on the new guy, so to speak. Jenny, Dick gets picked up by Alfred and they head off home. Jenny and her friend are walking through the streets where they are lured to get these free headphones from the Mad Hatter, although he's kind of in disguise. They each get a pair. The friend's, her pair doesn't work, Jenny's work, and she starts to get hypnotized and eventually kidnapped. Bruce is having a kind of a function. Dick Grayson comes and introduces himself as kind of Bruce's ward and whatnot. And then Bruce lets him go out kind of patrolling. The bat signal goes off. And it's not Commissioner Gordon at this point. He's only a captain. So Batman and Robin speak to him. He's a bit worried that Batman has this young teenage sidekick, which is perfectly understandable. But he lets them know that another girl has been kidnapped. So they start going to all the old haunts to try and find out who kidnapped the girl. But they're not getting any answers at this point. Alfred is a bit worried about Dick Grayson. All the while, the Mad Hatter is kind of doing his thing. And the general who wants these young women is really impressed with the output, so to speak. The next morning at breakfast, Robin realizes that the last girl that's kidnapped is the girl from his school. And he basically decides to, well, he's doing some reconnaissance work in the school itself. The principal is talking to the girl's friend, Jenny's friend, and he is kind of listening in on the conversation. And he kind of talks to her and discovers the headphone thing. So he chases down this headphone truck that abducted them, and he loses it, but he gets Alfred to come, puts on the Robin suit. He doesn't want to get Batman involved because Batman's at this function on this yacht. The yacht is owned by the general who is buying these girls from the Mad Hatter. He realizes that it's a signal, and he hones in on the signal that leads to this warehouse. He goes in there to check it out, gets found out, and ultimately ends up fighting the bad guys and getting the upper hand. He is Robin, of course, and learns that they are for the general that is on this yacht that Bruce is on at the moment. So he goes off to basically get on the yacht, and at the same time the Mad Hatter has these girls under control on the yacht and is told to kind of stay away. Robin infiltrates the yacht itself. Bruce, realizing what is happening, having been in communication with Robin and Alfred, goes to kind of help out. Destroys the controls of the yacht by pretending to fumble a drink on it, and Robin infiltrates the hull, finds the Mad Hatter, and realizes that all of these girls are under his control and they're all acting like automatons, and the Mad Hatter has them attack him. He doesn't want to fight them, he doesn't want to hurt them, he knows what they are, he knows that they're just people that have been brought under the sway of the Mad Hatter. So he ends up kind of finding a non-violent way to get around it, and ends up beating the crap out of the Mad Hatter. At the same time, the general is basically telling everyone, you've got to get off the boat, we've got to get to international waters, but they don't, and the general is ultimately arrested, and Bruce comes back to the mansion and realizes what a good job that Robin did. However, the next time it might not be so easy. So that was kind of like the first story arc. Then we lead into the next one where Batman and Robin are chasing down the villain Killer Moth. And Robin makes a quip about how these villains' names and costumes are getting lamer. Now, Killer Moth, for those of you that don't know, is basically a villain whose whole shtick is that he offers protection for other villains, but he's just really not fucking good at it. Like, he is fucking hopeless. So they chase him down. They manage to force him to crash his car. Robin confronts him, and in the ensuing battle, Killer Moth falls off a bridge, but Robin ends up saving his life, which is a good thing. Now, Two-Face at this point is getting a little bit bolder. He realizes that to get at Batman, he needs to get Robin. So that's his whole thing. He's doing the coin flip stuff that he kind of always does. Alfred is driving Robin around, and they come across this supervillain who is like a mega brute, and Robin manages to take him down. And Batman says, that's fantastic that you did that. You took him down pretty easy. However, this guy he's not really intelligent. When you come across a villain that has intelligence, that's when you've got to worry. And that's when we flick to Two-Face, who has gone to the home of a judge. Two-Face, of course, being Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent used to be the district attorney until he had acid thrown in his face, kind of burning half of his face off and giving him the split personality. If you don't know who Two-Face is, go and read some Batman comics, look at Wikipedia, or go and watch Batman Forever. He's captured this judge that he used to work with, and he accuses the judge of killing Harvey Dent. And he flips the coin. He's got the judge's wife tied up there as well. He flips the coin and ends up abducting the judge. At this point, Dick Grayson, Robin, has taken the night off, and he's going to meet his friends, and he's going to meet Jenny, one of the girls that he saved from Jarvis Tetch, the girl at the beginning that had kind of her eye on him. And they go rollerblading, and then as they're talking, they're about to kiss. He sees the bat signal, and he has to go. So he goes and meets up with Batman on the roof of Gotham PD with Captain Gordon. And Captain Gordon informs Batman that the judge has been actually kidnapped, and they need to work out what is going on, and it was probably Two-Face. So Batman and Robin are kind of on this case, although Batman wants Robin to sit this one out. He's like, this is way, way too dangerous. And Robin's like, fuck beans. So Two-Face is holding a trial for the judge himself, and the whole thing is rigged. This similar Two-Face style. He flips his coin. He's asking questions as Harvey Dent. He's asking questions as Two-Face. His own henchmen are the jury. So the whole thing is rigged, but he's basically accusing the judge of killing Harvey Dent in this instance. And then we get a little bit of Harvey Dent's kind of backstory, how he became Two-Face. And the judge is ultimately found guilty and is sentenced to hanging. So this isn't the judge, this is another character. Batman is looking at all the places that Two-Face might hit. Two-Face is obsessed with this idea of twos. So this bank or this charity has just raised $2 million. This wealthy couple have just had twins and things like that. And he's trying to work out which one is going to be the place that Two-Face hits. And he decides the children are more important. So he goes to where this wealthy couple have just had twins. And of course, Two-Face is there holding these babies. Batman shows up and Two-Face is there with the kids. Robin shows up as well. And he throws one of the babies off of the building. So Robin goes after that. And while Batman is trying to save the other baby, he gets cold-cocked. Robin manages to save the child, but it's not actually a baby. It's kind of a dummy that puts sleeping gas in his face, and he is knocked out. And Batman is also captured, and Two-Face has them in this kind of death trap. This is classic Two-Face thing, where you have the judge here and Batman here, and Robin is the one that has to make the choice which one lives and which one dies. This is absolute fucking classic Two-Face shit, and I love it so freaking much. So Robin decides to play Two-Face's game, and he's flipping the coin and making bets onto whether who lives and who dies. If the coin toss comes up in Robin's favor, then the judge lives, and then blah, blah, blah. And it's this whole kind of back and forth. But then Two-Face says he's not going to hang the judge, and in actual fact, he drops the judge into Gotham Harbor. The judge is handcuffed or are tied up and can't breathe, and ultimately ends up drowning, not hanging, which doesn't really go against Two-Face's the bet that he made with Robin. And Robin ends up getting the shit beaten out of him. Batman watches this, manages to escape as Robin is beaten almost to death by Two-Face. This is very reminiscent of the Joker beating Jason Todd with the crowbar in A Death in the Family, which is a fantastic graphic novel. Highly recommend everyone go out there and read that. But in this case, Two-Face is just beating the shit out of Robin with a baseball bat. Batman manages to escape, and he takes out Two-Face and the goons, but Robin is so badly beaten that he has to get him medical attention, which he does. He gets Robin back to the Batcave. There's only so much that Alfred can do, however, because Robin at this point has been beaten so badly that he is in fact dying, which was a phenomenal end to this part of the story. The art is fantastic, and it's just one of those things that if you're a Batman fan, you can see the connections between the different Batman stories, and I don't know what it is. It's something with diehard comic book fans like myself that when you see these connections, you just get chills. You literally just get chills, and then you just want to go and tell someone. Like, fuck, dude, did you see this in this? Oh my, it's just one of those things. I'm sure it's the same with cinephiles. I'm sure it's the same with book lovers, where you read something or you see something and then you just need to talk about it. You just need to talk about it with someone that connects, with someone that knows. It's just one of those things, man. And it just makes the hobby, it makes everything just so much better, in my personal opinion. Now, if you're a first-time reader and you don't pick up on any of this, that's perfectly fine. These stories are so awesome in and of themselves that it doesn't matter. But just from my perspective, it's just something that resonates with me. And it resonates with me a lot with a lot of things that I read and review and enjoy. And it's just something that I think a lot of people these days, especially the younger generation, they're not really experiencing unless they kind of go out and find it. And that's why comic review channels, movie review channels, book review channels, these things are actually really important. They're really important to get people into not necessarily the hobby, in my opinion, but the mindset of how much joy can come from these stories. So that's just my little aside, my little rant. I'm going to continue. So Captain Gordon is interrogating Two-Face. Two-Face is gloating about how Robin is dead. And Captain Gordon is like, you know what? Fuck this. Let's get on this. Let's work all this shit out. And he calls Batman and he says to Batman, if that kid is dead, we are done. Like, there is no coming back from this. We are freaking done. They've taken Robin to Leslie Tompkins. Leslie Tompkins, of course, being a very famous character in the Batman mythos. She has been there pretty much from the beginning to help Bruce when he was a child, and she's also helped him with wounds and stuff, and when his back got broken in the Nightfall saga and whatnot. And she is trying to fix Robin, Dick Grayson, because Alfred's medical training can only kind of go so far. And now this is the spot where Gordon basically says to Batman, hey, we're fucking done. If he's dead, we're done. And Batman's like, he's not dead, don't worry. And goes off to try and find Two-Face. And this is his... Of course, every great Batman graphic novel has to have a little Batman freak out thing, but in this case, it's Robin's dream, Dick Grayson's dream, where he wakes up and he's been out of it for quite a while, and at this point, Bruce Wayne tells Dick Grayson, you know what? This is over. I'm not putting you in danger anymore. You are no longer Robin. You are fired. Which Alfred hears. And Alfred tries to comfort Dick, and Dick is not having any of it. He's got no purpose now. Now, for those of you that don't know how Dick Grayson became Robin, basically his parents, he was part of the Flying Graysons, this acrobatic circus team, and his parents were killed by Tony Zuko, and it was this kind of revenge thing, and Bruce Wayne took him in, realized that he needed this outlet, and took him on as Robin to kind of... He saw something in Dick Grayson that he saw in himself when he was younger, when his parents were killed by Joe Chill in the alley. After they went to see, depending on what version you want, they went to see a Zorro film. So now Dick Grayson pretty much has no purpose, and Alfred is... This is kind of tearing Alfred up, because this is what Alfred wanted for Dick Grayson. He didn't want him to be Robin. He didn't want him to follow down Bruce Wayne's path, but at the same time, he can see how devastating this is for Dick, and he's kind of torn. This shows you how fucking fantastic a character Alfred Pennyworth is, which, spoiler alert, makes it all that more heartbreaking when Alfred is actually killed off in the Tom King run of Batman. He has his neck snapped by Bane, and the fault lies in Robin, not the Dick Grayson Robin, but the Damian Wayne Robin, the Robin who is the child of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul. But this Robin Year One, Alfred in this is just... It's the perfect Alfred, in my opinion. He's fantastic in this. So we see Dick Grayson still training, still kind of getting better, still getting back into shape, as Alfred is documenting all of this in his journal. And then we come to the next villain of the piece, Mr. Freeze, otherwise known as Victor Freeze. Now, I just want to take an aside to talk about this villain. Victor Freeze was pretty cool in the 1960s Batman TV show. He was a bit of a laugh. Was never really given that much of a backstory or anything until Batman the Animated Series. After Batman the Animated Series did their episodes where you got the backstory of everything, and we're forgetting Batman and Robin here, although I do love campy Arnold Schwarzenegger doing all the ice puns like, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. I mean, that's freaking hilarious. But the definitive origin of Mr. Freeze comes from Batman the Animated Series, and comics have kind of played on that ever since then. He's also, I might add, one of the most fucking annoying boss fights in the Batman Arkham series I have ever freaking done, and I went through like 3 controllers trying to beat that piece of shit. Just saying. Yes, I'm a rage gamer. That's why I don't game anymore. But oh my god, fighting him in that game was a fucking nightmare. Anyway, we have Victor Freeze talking to his henchman. He calls him Frosty, as in Frosty the Snowman. Fucking hilarious. And he's planning a new heist, but it's not going to be money. It's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be something more valuable. So we have Dick with Dr. Leslie Tompkins, and she's admiring how much his training and everything has brought him back after his severe beating. And then Mr. Freeze busts in with his goons, and they're there for one reason only, and that is to steal all the blood from their blood bank. Robin wants to go after him, but Leslie says, nope, don't do it. As they leave, because they've frozen this guy's arm, and they know what's going to happen if it gets shattered or whatever. So they steal all the blood. Robin kind of goes after them, and we see a note that has been left for Bruce. Victor Freeze has the blood in a certain temperature so it doesn't deteriorate, and the whole point of this is during the holiday season, less people give more blood, and so if he can hold this blood for ransom when people need it, he can make a ton of money. I think he's asking for like $10 million or something from the city. Robin finds out where they are. Bruce comes home, sees this letter that has been left. Two-Face is in jail and he's being interrogated by this detective, but Two-Face, being Two-Face, has a contingency plan and he manages to escape. He kills this detective and leaves, and the detective's partner finds the body as Two-Face is driving off. Robin goes into Mr. Freeze's hideout. He's kind of found out, and Mr. Freeze fights him, but of course, Robin, being Robin, is just too agile for him, and Mr. Freeze ends up freezing all of his henchmen. Robin manages to basically trick Mr. Freeze into falling through the roof of this warehouse, and the police get there just as Robin has tied up Mr. Freeze, and Commissioner Gordon comes in, gun drawn, realizes it is Robin, says, I'm glad to see you're okay, what's happening? And Robin's like, I'm retired now, it's all over. And he basically just walks away while Mr. Freeze gets arrested and probably sent back to Arkham or Blackgate or whatever. Batman kind of comes back, finds Alfred reading this letter. Robin is out in the streets, just wandering around. He's got nowhere to go. He doesn't want to go back to Wayne Manor. And Alfred and Bruce have a heart-to-heart. And at the same time, Robin is basically attacked by these gang members, and he takes them all down. But it's just a test, because this guy known as Shrike, again, as I said in the intro, this is the third character to have the name of Shrike. This is an absolutely original new character. He is a villain who has this Vengeance Academy where he trains killers for Ra's al Ghul's League of Assassins. And he's impressed with Robin. This is his number one henchman kind of boon. He's impressed with Robin, and so Robin is inducted into this Vengeance Academy. Shrike meets with Manetti from the beginning. This gangster really thought Two-Face was going to help him out, but Two-Face didn't, and so he's now this gangster has now put a hit out on Two-Face with the help of his nephew, who gives Shrike money. Shrike accepts the challenge. Batman goes to see the Joker. He wants to know where Two-Face is, and the Joker is just, being the usual Joker self, and has managed to unhinge the chair and goes to attack Batman, but Batman's like, don't. And by the way, take away all his furniture privileges, because while Joker has given him some clues, he hasn't really done kind of all that much. Alfred calls the circus that Dick Grayson's parents and he used to be a part of, but they haven't seen him. Alfred's kind of doing the legwork here, trying to find where Dick Grayson is. At this point, Dick is training in this Vengeance Academy. He's fighting Boone, but he kind of gets tricked and Boone gets the upper hand. However, Shrike has a mission for them. They have to break into this museum and go to the archives where all the old documents are held. And they do that. Boone wants to kill one of the security guards, but Robin's like, that's not what we're here to do. So they break into this archive, and Shrike is there, and it was just a test. And Boone is basically, this guy made me not kill the guy, and Shrike slaps him, like, fuck you. Now, here's the thing, you've got to get out. And so they do, they make sure they all escape. And the whole point of this was to get them ready to go and kill Two-Face. That's their mission. Batman meets with Captain Gordon, and they kind of work out what is happening. In the interim, they go, Two-Face is in this mansion, 2020. So that's 2020. And he's got this family hostage in this mansion. His dogs start going crazy. And he's like, what the fuck is going on out there? And it's because Robin is blowing a dog whistle. The dog trainer can't work out what's happening. So Two-Face ends up killing both of the dogs. And the Vengeance Academy gang break in. They find this dude. They find Two-Face. Two-Face is ready for them. It was an ambush, and he attacks them. Everyone gets away. Robin, on the other hand, remembers what Two-Face did to him, and he's about to kill Two-Face, but he doesn't. And they end up escaping. Robin goes back to the Batcave, and he's leaving Batman a note about the Vengeance Academy and Two-Face and all of that kind of stuff. And Shrike realizes that Robin isn't who he says he is. He realizes that Robin has given him a fake name, and he's going to get the truth out of him sooner or later. Two-Face takes the Manetti's nephew and interrogates him, ends up finding out where Shrike is, killing him, and then it becomes basically in the Vengeance Academy, they are beating the shit out of Dick Grayson, and Batman appears, and Batman starts kind of taking them on, but then Two-Face also appears, and then it becomes this three-way battle between Batman, Robin, Shrike, and Two-Face, and Shrike is ultimately killed. Two-Face gets away, and Robin basically dons his suit again, because at this point now Bruce trusts him, but he gives Robin an ultimatum. You have to do what I say. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's leaving me to die, you have to do what I say, which Robin agrees to. And then we see him taking down Two-Face, and they're talking to Captain Gordon, and then Captain Gordon, Robin sees Barbara Gordon for the first time. Captain Gordon is like, not on your life, buddy. Although those of you that are fans of comics know that Robin, Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon kind of become an item. She will end up becoming Batgirl, which is the next graphic I will review like this will be Batgirl Year 1. And then we have a little Alfred Pennyworth journal, just basically explaining how everything's kind of come full circle. And then we have of course, the graphic novel sketches and things like that. That was Robin Year 1. This was an absolutely phenomenal graphic novel. I loved every single minute of it. It was one of those graphic novels where you read up to a point and you know, I've got to put this down. I've got to go to work. I've got to go to bed. But you just can't. You just got to keep going. Really enjoyed this. Chuck Dixon, fantastic writer, really captured the character. I'm looking forward to reviewing or reading and reviewing the Nightwing series, which was something that I always wanted to read but never got into. Yeah, this was absolutely phenomenal. So there you have it, Robin Year 1. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all of that good stuff. But most important of all, people, stay safe. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And of course, just do me a huge favor. Read a fucking book.